Hello, hello, hello. My name is Madeline Hewitt, and I am so happy you are here. If you are new here, welcome. If you have been here before, welcome back. Just want to take a second to remind you that these episodes are available on the Do the Work podcast with Madeline Hewitt, anywhere you get your podcasts. And full videos are always available on my YouTube channel, Madeline Hewitt. I will be sure to put links to everything in the description below. Be sure to subscribe to this channel on YouTube. Give this video a like. Follow the podcast. Rate the podcast. Leave me some comments. I love to hear from you guys. Of course, I'm on the socials, the Instagram, the TikTok. So be sure to join the community, connect with me. I love to hear from you all. So to piggyback off of last week's episode where we discussed how to change your mindset by first being aware of your thoughts and flipping the script on your own negative self-talk. So to piggyback off of that, this week we are going to dive deeper into how to consciously change the language that you use and how changing your language can actually change your entire perspective on your life. This includes your life, the people around you's life, the world around you. It's actually crazy how much the language that you choose to use, both subconsciously, consciously, out loud, internally, all of it, all of the language that you choose deeply affects the perception that you have of the world and the perception that you have of yourself. So if you have not seen last week's episode where we talk about negative self-talk and limiting beliefs and how to become aware of your own thoughts and change and start to flip the script of your own thoughts, I highly suggest that you watch that episode. This one is going to build off of that, and I am so excited. I love this topic, and it has genuinely been a life changer for me. So I'm really excited to share it with you all. So as we talked about in the last episode, much of what prevents you from living your best life has to do with your own fear and doubt, not the outside world, not outside circumstances, but what's going on internally. Your conscious mind and your subconscious mind work together hand in hand. Whatever your conscious mind chooses to believe is what your subconscious mind is going to choose to believe as well. This has a lot to do with the language that you use. If you use negative, self-deprecating, counterproductive language about yourself or about the world around you, then that is what your subconscious mind is going to believe to be the truth. I think we often play the out of sight, out of mind game with our subconscious mind. We can't see it, we can't touch it, we can't feel it. It's not there. No need to lend it any TLC. But the reality of the situation is that your subconscious mind is woven into the fabric of your everyday life. Your self-confidence, your fears, your doubts, your perception of the world around you. You don't consciously make decisions about every single moment in your life. And that is where your subconscious mind comes into play. It is that autopilot mode that takes over in your day-to-day life as things happen, or you have to make decisions, or you start to make perceptions of the world around you. You don't consciously think of every single time you're doing that throughout the day. So do you see how we need to take care of and nourish our subconscious mind? Because we don't even realize when it's at work and when it's at play. And the reality of the situation is that it is in work and it is in play at all times. And it greatly affects the trajectory and the lens through which we see the world around us. And a huge part of this is the language that we choose. Now, you also don't think about every single word that comes out of your mouth or every single word that flows through your internal dialogue, do you? No. For this reason, changing the language that you use, both consciously and subconsciously, takes active, deliberate effort to make a change. It's not going to fix itself overnight. So be gentle on yourself, right? And the becoming aware of the language that you choose can actually be a really uncomfortable place to be. It's not fun to hear how negatively maybe you perceive yourself, or maybe how negatively you perceive the world around you, and then begin to recognize how that's affected your entire mental space and how you perceive everything around you. It's not fun to realize that you've been doing that to yourself, and that the world might actually not be evil and everything might not actually be everyone else's fault. And that's not a fun place to be because you recognize that a lot of it is your problem and something that you need to fix. So becoming aware can be really, really uncomfortable. And this is not a swift and easy process. So again, be gentle on yourself. It can be really uncomfortable. Lean into it because this uncomfort is what's going to push you to keep making the change and sticking to it. And it's what's going to push you to the other side, right? So here are a few of my favorite language swaps. And they seem so simple and so obvious, but it's actually crazy how big of a difference they make. Number 1, choose when and not if. Now, how many of us are guilty of saying, if I get the job, if I get the raise, if I meet someone, if I move, if this takes off? We are all guilty of it. It is something that I hear all the time, and I've become even more hyper aware of it since I've started doing this work on myself. This is something that affects everybody. It's actually wild. I think that it is a huge protection mechanism. Using the word if takes off the pressure of failure, right? So if you say if, then you're go ahead and like laying the groundwork that like this might not work and like it's okay if I fail. I'm okay if it just doesn't happen because I'm aware that it might not happen, and that's why I use the word if, right? So it's a protection mechanism for yourself. You don't want to put all of your eggs into the success basket because God forbid it might actually work out. No. You know what the word if is? The word if highlights your uncertainty. It highlights your uncertainty in yourself, and it highlights your uncertainty in the universe to bring you what you're working on, right? Can we just all agree to stop using the word if? I don't want to hear any more of if I get the job, if I get the raise, if I meet someone. I want to hear when I get the job, when I get the raise, when I meet someone. Do you hear what a difference one word can make in the intention of what you're saying? Someone saying, well, if I get the job versus when I get the job, do you hear how much confidence comes from within when you switch that one word? When says, I know I am capable, and I know that the universe is capable of bringing me exactly what I want. Number 2. We have got to learn to take a compliment. You know, I think so many people, women especially, are so scared of coming off as egotistical or arrogant or narcissistic by speaking highly of themselves. We are conditioned to think that in order for us to be liked, we have to make ourselves small. And we often do this through using self-deprecating language. So who knows what I'm talking about, okay? Someone says, your hair looks good today. And you're like, oh gosh, mine? Oh, it's so frizzy. It's so humid outside. Or I am so proud of you for reaching your goal. I know that had to be difficult. And you're just like, oh, it was really no big deal. It was fine. Like, come on, guys. The amount of times that I am guilty of using objection or playing down my success as a way of receiving a compliment is alarming. The scariest part of it all is how normal it is. Everyone does this. Why can't we just learn to genuinely say thank you? Wow, your hair looks really good today. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow, I'm really, really proud of you. I know that had to have been really hard to accomplish. Yeah, it actually was. I worked really, really hard on this project. Thank you so much for recognizing that. That is so much more inviting. You're inviting in the good vibes that other people are offering. When someone compliments you, there is no need for a but. You just say, thank you, and mean it. Every time you negatively accept a compliment, all you're doing is minimizing yourself and your successes, just chipping away at your own self-worth. So let's stop letting compliments chip away at our self-worth. Let's use these moments of praise from others to build us up and add a little pep in our step. Life is already hard enough. We already have enough coming at us. We don't need to turn a positive moment into a negative moment too. We need to take those positive moments, pile them all together, and let them help build us up. So let's all learn to take a compliment, learn to say thank you, and learn to back ourselves. Number 3, stop talking about what you don't want and instead talk about what you do want. All right, so let's think about something for a moment. In order for you to know that you don't want something or that you don't want something to happen, you first have to envision what that thing is, because without envisioning it, you don't even know what you have to fear, right? So this in turn causes your subconscious to visualize and experience this thing that you don't want to happen happening. This is completely counterintuitive to what we are trying to do. We don't want our subconscious mind to spend its time visualizing and experiencing what we don't want to happen. We want it to spend its time visualizing what we do want. The easiest way to avoid this: stop talking about what you don't want. Focus on what you do want. Instead of saying, I'm lonely, I don't want to be single anymore, say, I'm thankful for my time alone, and I can't wait for a happy and healthy relationship to come into my life. Instead of saying, I hate my house, I need more space, say, I can't wait to work really, really hard and be financially savvy and be able to afford the house of my dreams. Do you hear how saying, I'm thankful for being alone and I can't wait for a happy and healthy relationship to enter my life? Do you see how that pushes your subconscious to focus on what it's going to be like, feel like, look like to have a happy and healthy relationship in your life? As opposed to saying, I'm lonely, I don't want to be single anymore, which then pushes your subconscious to focus on what it looks like and feels like for you to be lonely and be sad and be single. Whatever your subconscious mind is focusing on and visualizing and experiencing, that is the direction that your energy is going to be pushed. The language that we choose is a direct reflection of our self-worth and self-esteem. If we use negative, self-deprecating language, it is a reflection of our low self-esteem and low self-worth. Like I said in last week's episode, when we choose language like this, we are just being mean to ourselves. Why do we want to be mean to ourselves? We should be the nicest to ourselves. So I challenge you to become consciously aware of the language that you are using and begin to make changes to swap your narrative, right? Here are some of my favorite language swaps. Instead of saying, I don't know how, we're going to say, I can ask for help and research how to do this. Instead of saying, this isn't going to work out, we're going to say, everything works out exactly how it is supposed to. Instead of saying, I'm not good enough, say, I am capable of anything. Do you feel how simple changes in language change your entire perspective on what you're talking about? When you shift your perspective in life, you change your experiences in life. This is why two people can see or do the same thing and have two completely different experiences of it, because they have two completely different perspectives on the moment. So we have to start training ourselves to have a positive perspective. In order to have positive experiences in life, you have to have a positive perspective on life. If you're just looking through life through a negative lens, life is going to end up being full of negative experiences. But if you choose to use a positive lens through which you see life, you're going to see a lot more of life's positive experiences. My fourth and final trick for changing your language is one that we talked about last episode as well, using affirmations. So like we talked about in last week's episode, one of my favorite ways to come up with my affirmations is to make them exact opposites of my fears and doubts. This is like my affirmations are directly battling my limiting beliefs. So like I said, if you are curious what I mean by this, please go ahead and take a look at my last episode. I deep dive into how I come up with all of my affirmations, becoming aware of your fears and doubts, all of the above. So be sure to check that out. Affirmations are positive I statements, and they breed self-love and self-confidence and self-respect and self-worth. They are things like, I am exactly where I am meant to be today. I am confident in the life that I am building. I am grateful for all that I have in my life. I feel calm and steady today. So the internet is an incredible resource for finding affirmations to use, right? And they can be used in a million different ways. I personally like to write my affirmations in Expo marker on my bathroom mirror. And then every single morning as I am doing my morning skincare routine, I will look myself in the mirror and repeat my affirmations over and over and over again. That is how I like to do them. I know some people like to journal their affirmations. Some people like to meditate with their affirmations. It's whatever works for you. Since starting this affirmation practice for myself, I have actually caught myself. I know that this sounds crazy, but I have started to hear a negative thought come into my head. Like I will start to hear the little voice in my head saying, you're never going to hear back from this job. They're never going to hire you. And I have caught myself shutting my eyes and going, you are worthy and capable of landing your dream job. You are worthy and capable of landing your dream job. You are worthy and capable of landing your dream job. I repeat it in my head until it literally drowns out that negative talk that I have. I know that it sounds crazy, but this starts to become like second nature when you say these affirmations over and over and over and over again to yourself. Your body, your head, your mind starts to default to these positive thoughts. And y'all, confidence is deliberate. Confidence takes effort. Confidence takes work. You have to back yourself. If you don't back yourself, if you don't feel confident in yourself, who else is going to? So I challenge you to take these 4 tricks that I talked about today and implement them into your life. And I don't mean for an hour. I don't mean for a day. I mean implement them deliberately, consciously, on repeat over and over and over again until you start to see a difference. I challenge you to do the work on the language that you use and report back to me on what changes you start to see in your life. I personally know that this has been an absolute game changer in my self-confidence and my self-worth. It has been an absolute game changer in what I think I'm capable of. Because if I tell myself all day, every day, you are capable, you are worthy, you can do this, you have what it takes. If you are constantly hearing that in your head, I'm telling you, life starts to paint that picture for you. It's really, really amazing. And I am so happy that I got to share these 4 points with you today because it has been so big in my life and I know that it is going to help some of you all. So thank you so much for listening today. I hope that this episode was helpful, informative, inspiring, whatever it may be for you. If it was, please be sure to follow the podcast, rate the podcast, subscribe to the channel, like the video, all of the things. Leave me a comment, follow me on social media. I love to hear from you guys, and I cannot wait to keep sharing my health, wellness, and personal development tips, tricks, and things that I learn along the way. Thank you so much, and I cannot wait to see you back next week.